Hi, I'm Lori Allred. Welcome to Inspired by Pinterest, where I browse around Pinterest looking for amazing ideas from crafters and bloggers from all over the world and bring them to life each week here on an episode on my craft channel. Today we're going to be talking about a really fun project that a friend of mine inspired, along with a little help from Pinterest. It is my Halloween kind of spooky spell books. These fun little creations here. And they are so much fun to do. I got together with a friend of mine one Saturday night and we just went to town. So I thought I'd walk you through the process and what I learned while doing that. But first, let's go to my pin board. I have one for holidays, just Halloween, and you can find many of the ideas there. You can also go to my blog at allreddesign.net, and anything I mention in an episode each day, the links will be over there, as well as some additional ones I might find helpful for you. So let's start off by, this was actually inspired by a friend of mine, Mason Barton. He is an amazingly talented graphic designer that I used to work with years ago, and he actually has a blog where he puts up his crafty creations. He's an amazing artist too, but he is a huge fan of Halloween. I remember taking my kids over to his house when they were little and he'd decorate it all out. Even he gets way into the costumes and he does amazing stuff. So these books were from him, and he actually does have a little tutorial on his blog. And I actually invited him to come, but sadly he was out of town for this episode. But I showed this on my Instagram and social media, and a lot of people were freaking out about it. So I'm so excited that I get to show you today. Let's talk about some of the pins that might be of help to you after you watch the show. The first one's from betterafter.net, and again, it's just some creative, fun ways to do these spell books. One that is amazing, and a friend of mine has had pin for like 2 years, but she hasn't dared do it, is from 2delight.com, and it's a hocus pocus book, but this one's actually made with all clay. Instead of buying a lot of the plastic pre-made stuff, it's all hand built with clay. Like Sculpey clay or fast drying clay would work. And then they use a mannequin eyeball for the book. Totally cool. Just takes a little bit more time than I was willing to do. I found a great link on Tumblr for the same type of thing that has a PDF you can download. What I also thought was super fun is from magimia.blogspot.com. She actually takes old medicine bottles, any kind of empty bottles, spice containers, and makes the coolest potion bottles using this same technique. So as you can see, I purchased this one at all $1 and just had a lot of fun. You can write your own words on it. You know, I have nude or whatever you want, and you just use that raised part, and then just hot glued whatever creatures I had at the time. This little guy's coming off, but to the jar, and then we're going to apply the same techniques. So let's walk you through the basic techniques you're going to need for this. First of all, you're going to need a book. Now you can purchase these cardboard or paper mache books at most craft stores. They come in multiple sizes. I think there's a third smaller one. I don't know what happened to that little guy. And then this is what happens when you're done altering it. But then you can also hit your local craft or thrift stores and pick up, this is a cookbook that my friend found for me, that we just love the spiral binding in there and how fun we could put the words and little brackets on it. This one, you can see the spider on it. It's a little bit harder to make out the design, but it's a skull in a really cool frame. But I love the words on it, so I'm going to display it on the shelf like this. This guy, I absolutely love how the bat wraps around here. And then these are made with thickers, just my stash of thickers. I have a ton of American Crafts thickers. Perfect to pull out for this project. And then just had a lot of fun. This is my favorite part of the whole book, is this little guy was once this. Look how cool that looks on that book. Just kind of creepy. And then these fun little rivets along here were just made with inexpensive, I picked these up at the dollar store, thumbtacks. And I did go through and clip them off on the underside. They're covered up a little bit with the paper that's on the side. So let's hurry and walk you through the basics. You're going to need your book. You're going to want your plastic animals, so whether you're starting with this book or an altered book, you're going to simply need hot glue. So you can pick, I love the way the spiders look. Sometimes they're too big for the book. So I don't know, even sometimes the 3D rats look really cool. Here I have a smaller skeleton that would look really cool. Just add a little hot glue to the back of him to make sure you hold him in place. and just start decorating around, and then pull your stickers into the mix where you want the stickers to go. If you want it to say hexes or hocus pocus. You can also do cutouts from your like Silhouette or Cricut. I have hexavises, curses, potions, spell book that I've cut out, and I actually will show you on this example. They do work. When it's raised and you paint it over it. So this one, I've taken, it's an old, I don't even know what kind of book it is. Looks like some type of intervention. School book. So here I've added my thickers, my fun spiders. These are just cut out from paper. And instead of using what I did on most of these books was paper towel, I thought I'd try the method with tissue paper. And then on the side it says spells. It's really hard to make out until we go and treat that raised lettering. But you're going to want, I'm going to highly recommend you do paper towels instead of tissue paper. Tissue paper gets really soggy and starts falling apart. In fact, I kept having to peel it off and throw it away. This was, I probably didn't do this until I tried all the others, but I like the texture of the paper towels much better. But the trick is you don't want the 2-ply paper towel. Make sure you go through your paper towels and split them into a single ply. Now this is probably the hardest part of the project, is splitting that apart. So once you get that, you're simply going to take and Mod Podge over, let me get that guy, we started over here. Super simple, you're going to take Mod Podge. It's kind of cool to watch, so I want to demonstrate this. And who doesn't love a little Mod Podge? So just kind of coat your area, your book, whatever you're covering with the Mod Podge. Be generous. And then you go back and kind of press it down with your foam brush over top of that. And it just kind of adheres to the shape of what you're working with. And then on the book parts, kind of scrunch it up, give it texture. You don't want it to look like you just Mod Podged a paper towel. But we want to make it look like kind of an old leather book. So keep going over that. On the tissue paper, the trick was definitely ripping it into strips. Paper towels, not so much. The paper towel's way more forgiving. And then you're going to set this aside and let it dry. It takes overnight because there's a lot of Mod Podge that goes into this. This guy did, Hurry and did last night, and I loved how he turned out. So the next step we would do for this is we simply just want black. My friend did brown paint. It looked really awesome. There's some really fun metallic purples and whatnot. Just use your imagination. I really like the way the black turned out. And so I'm going to just paint over this and start giving it that. Just make sure you coat it, let it dry completely. And this isn't even where the magic begins on these books. This is just the step before the magic. So make sure you've coated it completely. Now on the spider's legs, you can see parts of them aren't completely covered. That's okay. It still looks like it's part of the book when you're done. These really are quite forgiving. This is such a fun project. Something that I think would be really cool to display at Halloween. It's not my favorite holiday, I will admit, but I have a lot of my friends who have birthdays in October and they love Halloween. So they might be getting some spell books for their birthdays. You know who you are. So just keep going over that until you completely let it dry. And then the next step, I didn't think to bring one that was already painted, so we'll put this aside. You're going to want, you can dry brush it with a metallic acrylic paint will work, but I found I really love these rubs. They're in the section where you do the gold foiling, and they're just from Rub and Buff is what they're called, and this is silver gold, which I did on these two. And then I just picked up this really awesome Spanish copper. I think that would look really cool on the black. And you can just go right over it, just add a little bit to your finger and just go over all of the little bumps and kind of go brush over it until the design pops up. I got tired. My fingers start to hurt after a while because it's really rough. And I did actually start using a brush. It does kind of mutilate your foam brush though. So you're just going to go over and make that pop up, the raised parts look a little bit cooler and stand out a little bit more. If you go over it too much, you can go and black it back out with your paint and just go over it until the raised parts all show up on your design. And that's it. You're done. Those spell books, I'm sure they'll last forever, at least in your Halloween stash. So hopefully I've inspired you to try a project you never thought to try. It really is a fun project to get together with friends. All of you bring your stash. All of these little guys and pieces I picked up at a dollar store. So it was very inexpensive, especially if you're using a found book and upcycling it for this project. So hopefully I've inspired you and hope you have a happy Halloween. Thanks for joining me, and we'll see you next week.